Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are now back in the cocoon room. Happy Easter Sunday, Resurrection Sunday to all those who participate in today's holiday. Also, happy holidays, period, right? Back with my co-host, I am Eugene, aka Maru Lakeville, and this is my co-host.
Hi, welcome to the Cocoon Room. I'm Candace.
And we are back to talk about this controversial subject that, well, I mean, we're here to talk about gender roles, but it's kind of controversial because when you think about some of the issues that we see today, uh, there is so polarized on both ends. And so we just want to take some time to try to unpack some of the issues surrounding that. And with that being said, give the floor to Candace and let you do your thing.
All right, ladies and gents. So I was really thinking about what it looks like for gender roles, for male and female. And according to scripture, Proverbs 18 and 22 states that a man that finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. So let's just start out by saying that. And typically, when we talk about gender roles, male meaning masculinity and female meaning femininity, we all have roles according to social society standards. And basically, the gender roles is a behavior learned in society that are appropriate for your gender, whether it's female or male, and it is consistent with cultural norms. We most of the time we grow up conforming to roles specifically for male or female. And some of those could be, women are required to do certain things, they're required to dress a certain way, behave a certain way, and men are required to dress a certain way and to behave a certain way based off of what their social norms are. But it could vary according to their ethnic group. And every society and every ethnic group have cultural gender roles. They may differ from group to group. Okay, so that's just a general definition, but basically, the gender roles are installed in us from childhood. Okay, so little girls are taught to dress a certain way, to say certain things, and boys are taught to dress a certain way. And so, in particular, when we talk about even with baby showers, you go to a baby shower and we find out that it's a girl, everybody wants to bring pink because traditionally little girls wear pink, right? And then when they find out that it's a boy, little boys are usually put in blue. And so you have the nurseries that are pink or yellow for the girls, and then for the boys, they're blue or yellow.
So I got
Okay.
a question. So of
Okay.
course I'm gonna ask you a question. So would you say that when you're talking about gender roles that and you said that, obviously the society, different ethnic groups in different society have different definitions of gender roles and different views of it. Would you say that the parenting unit for that specific, with this male or female, has a major influence on that gender, and that the what defines the role for that person, as an adolescent?
Yeah, I would say that what we call it's called imprinting. And so what imprinting means is basically you show your children what their role should be. Okay. So if it's a mom, if there's two parents in the home, and let's say they have two children, male and female, imprinting means just basically like, okay, mom will show the young girl how to cook, how to clean, how to keep house. And then the dad will show the young man maybe how to fix things, how to build things, how to change a light bulb. And so that's basically what it is. It's called imprinting. And so traditionally, according to what people standard is in their home, I would say that parents play a big part in determining what the kids roles look like in the home. But as we know, gender roles are definitely changing because society is changing.
Makes perfect sense. And so another question I would have then, um, well, because like we said, it's changing, right? And so would you agree or disagree or just comment on uh, just the different types of gender? Like, are there different types, like traditional, untraditional? And can you elaborate more on that?
Okay, so yes, traditional gender roles well, a traditional gender role for a female would be basically some females may stay at home, maybe a stay at home wife. And so she is doing the rearing of the kids. She's raising the kids, helping them with homework. She is cooking and cleaning, making grocery store runs, picking the kids up from sports, dropping them off at school. So that will be a traditional role for a female. And I think we had a clip that we could go ahead and pop up there. And then for the male, it would be the male will be the provider, expected to be the leader of the house, be the provider, and make sure that all of the needs are met for the woman and the children. So as you can see on the screen, this is just a typical picture. Some of it could be stereotypical, we know, but you can see the role of a woman. It has a crown there, so essentially she will be a queen. It has lipstick because women should, are expected to look nice and appropriate. You have the home, and you have like art. It also has like a tree there, so maybe that's representing that she's planting or gardening. And then you have the home where it looks like she's keeping home. Okay, and then on the side for the males, you have a traditional role. It has that the male should be strong or dominant. It has a brain, so maybe they're saying that men are smarter than women. Not saying I'm not saying that, so maybe that's what the representation. It also has a set of weights, so he's weightlifting. It has a computer, maybe he has computer skills, a briefcase, and so he is the breadwinner. It has a dollar sign, so I'm assuming that they're trying to suggest that he makes the bulk of the money. There's a truck there, and also a rent, so maybe he's the fixer. And so this is typically what you would see in the gender roles, but oftentimes it could be biased based on whoever wrote the information. All right. I see you, Lakeisha.
Hello. That is one of our that was the one.
Our business.
Yes. So that's cool. That's good. Hello, Lakeisha. How are you? Um, so when looking at that diagram, basically I got a couple things. I got that, obviously it's being traditional, right? A male, they have one set of standards for a male and one set of standards for the female, right? Because like you said, when you immediately think of male from a societal standpoint, muscular, strong, making all the money, smarter, right? So that is where we at, right? But that's where we used to be at, especially with today. Everything's being transposed, and so it's now we're about being equal and sharing roles and all that and all those things. And so I just want to be very clear so people understand that you do have traditional, but then you have today's society standards where it's like, well, a man can do what a woman does, a woman can do what a man does, and so on and so forth. So can you elaborate on that also?
Exactly. That is called egalitarian, which means that people in this set of group, they really don't believe in traditional roles. They believe that everybody is equal and deserve the same opportunity. And so this is different. They believe everybody deserves a chance and everyone is equal. So they don't believe in traditional roles. Okay.
And that's interesting because when you see it in sports now with like transgenders, they're saying, even though they believe if they believe in certain things, I'm not a what is it? I'm not a female. I'm a male. I'm a female now, and so they're allowing the transgenders to participate in some of the sports, and so you're seeing that view also.
Okay, and so what that is actually called, they've just written that into the roles. It's called transitioning. So we have traditional, transitioning, and egalitarian. And transitioning just means that it's another role, just like you said, they may identify differently, and they are heading on and into sports and other arenas. So again, their roles may be a little bit different because it's a new role as far as like gender. Okay, so
and so it's interesting too, that we covering this because you do have that going on. It's controversial because also you still have the testosterone. We don't want to get real too scientific and all that, but you have that going on. So it's like is that fair to women? You do have men, well, transgenders participating in full-fledged women's sports. And so as a dad, I'm looking at that just like, kind of cringe. I'm like, I would want my daughter to play sports if she's at a disadvantage, athletically, right? And so again, egalitarian, is that how
Egalitarian.
equal in everything, which
Right.
is, and it complicates things. And so that's why we're doing this, because we want to actually define gender roles, right? And define what they mean and how we view them. And so it kind of leads into this question, or I wouldn't say question, this comment: women in comparison to men.
Yes. I would say that because we are in a society now that traditions are definitely changing, women are doing things that men typically did in the past, and men are doing things that women typically did in the past. So like now we have fathers who are currently stay-at-home dads, and they're attending to the children while the mother is out working. It just depends on who is best at what role in the home. It doesn't make it bad that dad wants to stay at home and rear the kids, and then mom goes out to work. And so in comparison, we have as far as the definition for women, women in the past have generally been expected to dress in a feminine way and be accommodating and be polite and be very nurturing, whereas men were supposed to be strong. They wasn't supposed to show any emotion. They were supposed to be the providers of the home, and seen as being aggressive, because what aggressive means that he could protect. Okay, and so that is in comparison, that's men versus women.
Just like Will Smith was protecting. Oh, we're not going to. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. So and I agree, because like you said, people identify, like you said, aggression with protection, and that's interesting, that correlation, But I would also like to add that men can nurture too, just not in the same way. They can nurture differently. And I like one of the things you spoke about as far as men having feelings, because a lot of times when we're kids, and I'm pretty sure every male can talk about this, when you cried around your uncle or your dad, per se, or just some men, period, what you crying for? You shouldn't be crying. Cut them tears off, and we've adopted that, and so when I'm parenting my own son, I have sometimes to catch myself, like, it's okay, even though I'm rolling my eyes, but I'm like, while I'm doing, like, it's okay, because I don't want to ever tell him it's not okay to show emotion. You know what I'm saying? And to be appropriate in showing it. Go ahead.
Okay. And I think, I'm so happy that you brought up that point. That is one of the ways that we can start to break those generational curses and get rid of that generational trauma. Because so long in the past, people did tell their young men and their little boys that you need to be strong. And so here's an example of that. So if you have a little girl and you have a little boy, and say they're twins and they're both outside playing and they both fall, the little boy comes up and say, hey, he's crying, he scrapes his knee, and your little girl comes up and she's crying and she scrapes her elbow. The first thing people traditionally do is they're going to pick the little girl up, they're going to kiss her and say, oh, feel better, I'm so sorry that happened to you, let me clean it up. But they're going to pick the little boy, they're going to grab the little boy and say, hey, what you crying for, man up. And so when we're doing that, we are actually telling them that it is not okay to express their feelings or to talk about the things that are bothering them and that are affecting them, which takes their voice away. And oftentimes in our community, we've seen parents, grandparents, and elders literally taking the child's voice away. We need to make sure that they're in a space where they can advocate for themselves and they can talk about their emotions, because that's very important. If we don't, we're causing generations of kids with trauma and also with anxiety, and we're not allowing them to be able to express themselves and advocate for themselves, which in turn is taking their voice away. So I think it is really good that we are now in a space where we understand that it is okay for men and young boys to show emotion. You don't have to hide behind a shell. It's a time and a place for everything. And if something's bothering us, something's happening, and it's a moment where you're supposed to cry, we have tear ducts for a reason, right? Crying is a way to cleanse the soul and to cleanse the spirit. So I do believe in expressing those feelings and those thoughts.
But I will say this, just facetiously, you don't want him crying every time something happens.
No, I said, no,
He's
remember,
your man.
I said it's a place and it's a time for everything. So
Have a
yeah.
balance, bro. Don't be crying because your team lost. Don't be crying the bills ain't paid. She gonna be looking at you like, bro, what's up? So nah, I get it. Just make it fun. But this is a great way of the transition, right? Because when talking about gender roles, the 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 part that's get the most publicity, I would say, or the most attention is submissiveness, right?
Yes.
Because you have these different roles and
But real
people.
quick, we have some people over here. I just want to say hi to
Oh, go ahead,
Toria.
go ahead.
Hi Shalon, hi sister in Ariana. Hi. She said they grow up and become men who are detached from their emotions. And Ariana, you are absolutely right. And so when we talk about detachment, that is very horrible actually, because if they're detached, they really can't bond or engage with anyone. And that is why it's so easy for them to be in those relationships where it is very toxic because they don't form attachments very early on. So that's a good that was good, Ariana. Thank you.
But and then too, like I agree with that because I was when she made the comment, I was just thinking like a lot of times I hear a lot of females say he don't ever say anything, he don't show any emotion, he doesn't express himself, or like she said, they be detached with their emotions, and I remember he made the comment a while back. He was saying the trauma that stems from our childhood, which that's always ringing in my ear
Mm-hmm.
when I hear comments like that, and it's true. But it goes back to what you just talked about, not showing emotion, because again, if they're detached emotionally, maybe they was bombarded with that, that type of thought process. You don't need to show emotions. What you crying for? We men, we don't cry, and like I said, manifest itself as an adult, and so you become that as an adult, which is crazy, and that's why mental health is needed for things like that. Absolutely.
It absolutely is. And then just retraining, because you got to think about it. If the male is detached and now he has children, what is he teaching his children? Can he teach his children how to properly advocate for themselves or how to express their feelings? No, because he was never taught that. So oftentimes we always talk about those single family homes where it's either dad raising the kids with no mom or mom raising the kids with no dad. So you can only teach people what you've learned. And so it's important. I do believe in parenting classes. If you are a parent and you grew up in a home where there was trauma and toxicity and you don't know how to relate to your children, I believe that it's okay to seek out help and go take a parenting class. Because the one thing about it is if you take that parenting class, you only thing you're doing is making your relationship better with your kids. So I do believe in that.
But like I said, we try let's try and pivot to submission
Submission.
because I believe, just from my own personal experience, I believe we do not really understand what that word means. And so with that question, obviously like to ask, what does it mean? Oh, I'm gonna be researching, so I'm gonna look, this is what I had. So it just means this is what was defined online, being the peacemaker. But this was from a male's perspective, right? And so it says being the peacemaker, allowing your husband to be the provider, but actually it should say mate, right? But that's what it says, allowing the husband to be the provider, um, keeping the house under control. But think about it, who's in the house all the time? Like if the woman's if the man's the breadwinner who's in the house, so they're basically telling the woman to keep the house under control, right? Uh, be open to your husband's sexual needs and desires, right? Listen intently to your husband without interruption, and include your husband on final decisions. Now you can take out husband and just put mate, right? So being the peacemaker, including your mate on final decisions, listen intently on your mate without interrupting it, which I am very bad at, by the way. I just got to say something, so I just got to say something. But anyway, being open to your mate's sexual needs and desires, uh, allowing your mate, let's say if you're not the breadwinner, but allowing them to be provided, you can provide in other ways instead of versus financially. So we want to define that, but also uh, keeping the house under control, right? So those are the things that uh, was defined online when I saw it. And I just thought that was interesting because I'm like, that was from a different perspective, right? But I think what's really for myself, when I think about these things, when I think about submissiveness, I go back to TV shows, right? And so this is a different angle, right? So when we look at the TV shows, before we get into TV shows, I want to come with some financial facts, right?
Real quick.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Amaru said that this definition of submissiveness was from a male point of view. So I want to ask my ladies, because I see there's some ladies on here. What do you guys think about the definition that he gave for submissiveness? And so I'll let you guys tell us what you think about it, and then I'll talk to you about how to be submissive in a healthy relationship, because we have to define the difference. In a toxic relationship, oftentimes it's very hard to be submissive because in the toxic relationship, the person is being controlling and they're being manipulative. And so in that area, it's hard for a woman or a man to submit. So just talk to us about what you think about that definition, and then I'll come and give you.
And this question, well, before we go, so this is a great question. How can you keep a household under control if you are the submissive one? It's a great question. And see, this is the clip I wanted to upload, but I couldn't. I'm so bad. I wanted to upload it. My favorite movie of all time was Malcolm X. I'll never forget this. I was 15 years old and I seen this movie. It was so pivotal when I seen it. Powerful. It wasn't the most powerful scene in the movie, and that's what made me value Black women to this day. It wasn't the move part when he took his hand and did like this. Remember when he was like, "That's too much powerful woman to have." No, that wasn't for me. The most it goes back to it's about the time that when she's talking, what the question she asked. The most powerful part of the movie for me was when he was having a conversation with the definition is very old. That's because she get married in 3 weeks, so she got to say something.
No worries. Oh yeah, yes. I'll give you the new definition.
But the most powerful part of the movie was when the Nation of Islam was flipping on him, and I wish I could have the clip. I wish I'm so mad, but she was like, he was like, "Don't you?" They going back and forth, and he tells her, "Don't you raise your voice in my house." So he got upset with her, right? With Bet. She paused, and then she took it off. She took it off herself, and this showed a lot of submission. And as a kid, I said, "That's the type of woman I want," because she understood how powerful he was. Absolutely, he was the breadwinner, but she kept it on the household. And so she asked him, she was like, "What about me? What about the kids? What about this family, Malcolm?" And he had to sit and let it sink in. And then he was trying to skirt it. He was like, "Well, the Nation of Islam would take care of you if something happened to me." And then she said, "Are you sure?" And he had to sit and think about that. And obviously, we know what happened after that. He was just like, he darted out from the Nation of Islam. But that showed ultimate submissiveness to me because she kept it up. And then one of the things he did say back to her, he said, "What do you want? You want more money?" She was just like, "No, we talking about your family, me, you, and these kids." And she kept it as a family dynamic. And that was so powerful to me because in the moment of chaos, when they were going back and forth, she had, and in a way, when you do that, you kind of de-escalate the situation, because you got to make sure you're stepping outside of yourself to see the family unit. And so that was the most, and I wish I could play that. I wish I had that clip, but I wanted to use it, but I couldn't. I was unable to upload it. And so, yes, you can keep a house under control when you're submissive by your delivery, by keeping it about your family. And because if you're submissive to your mate, you love them, right? You're not going to try to humiliate them. You're not going to try to denigrate them because they make less money or they're just a housewife or a house dad or wherever they may be. When you're submissive, when you're cooperating and you're compromising, when you're having those day-to-day being a team setting. Remember, I talked about this a couple days ago. Being a teammate, men, we teammates for everything, right? We're at work, we're on a team, right? So we know how to sacrifice and compromise at work. When we're playing sports, we're a team. We know how to sacrifice and compromise for the team. But then what happens when we get home? That compromisation is out the window, you know? And so I think that all ties in together, being submissive. But I want to keep rounding, but go ahead.
All right. Hi, Johnny. Welcome. We see you. So I would just say, to talk about submission, being submissive in a healthy relationship. In a healthy relationship, being submissive is very, very easy. Why? Because all your basic needs are being met. Okay. In a healthy relationship, partners are not focused on not forced to become, they're not forced to be submissive. Submissive is an act that is expressed mutually and voluntarily, and being submissive help you to be less self-centered, but also allows you to consider the desires of another person. So being submissive is not just on the woman itself, it's also on the man, because when we talk about a great leader, even a great leader knows when to step back if they don't know how to accomplish a goal. And the same thing with being submissive. If you know that you're better at something, we most of us have been to college, or even if we haven't, just like Eugene said, we played on a team. And when you're working together as a team, we all have our strengths and we're all going to be strong at something. But if you're not strong in that area, you know to step back and let someone else take the lead. That is the same thing in your home. If you know that your husband is better at something, and he's a great provider, and you guys can communicate well, and it's a healthy relationship, it's not toxic, and it is not forced, it's going to be easy for him to take the lead. And vice versa. If you know that your wife is better at something, you're going to allow her to take the lead. It is just not You're just not in a relationship where someone is holding a carrot over your head and telling you you have to do this, this, and that, but you guys complement each other. And so that's how it works when we talk about submissiveness. I think
Yes.
oftentimes people have the wrong take on what submissiveness means.
And like, so for example, like with me and my wife, I am a horrible cook, right? If it was left up to me, we're gonna eat pizza all week, every day. We're gonna eat out, or we're gonna be eating some ramen noodles or something, right? So that ain't my strength, right? So I'm gonna leave that to her. Even though I should know how to cook, I just know that's not what I'm good at. But vice versa, with her, her strength is not, taking the garbage out, right? Because that's just some things that women just don't do, that I know of, that in my household. And so I'm gonna pick up the slack and step in to be a leader and take care of that. But again, I just don't let the garbage sit and fill up after if I'm sitting. I'm just saying. But anyway, no, I'm being facetious. But in the role when hold on, before we go there, let's look at some comments here. And of course, she has something to say. I approve that definition. Watch out, cuz she's coming for you. Then we got to start that.
But you know what? I think just real quick, Erin, I think it's very important to do because I know you guys are getting married in a couple weeks, and congratulations. It's very important to do couples counseling before marriage, because these are some of the things that they're actually going to talk about, what it looks like to be in a marriage. Because even though people say, "Oh, we've been together for 5 years, we're getting married now, we've lived together," getting married is just a piece of paper. Really, it's not. It takes work to be in a marriage. And I think, if you're getting married, it's important that you do counseling so that you guys can understand what it looks like to be married. And the counselor is going to be the mediator. He's going to look at what your thoughts are. He's going to look at what his thoughts are. And then he or she is going to elaborate on that. So I think the questions that you're asking are really great questions, especially moving forward to get to your marriage. Because when we get married, we want to be married for a lifetime. We want to make sure this is our life mate.
Yeah, we ain't doing this 4-5 times. We're gonna do this one time. That's it. I ain't gonna be married about 4-5 times. We try to do this right the first time. You heard me? Johnny with another comment. Let's seat up for us sometime. Yeah, Johnny, yeah.
What do you say?
Let the seat up sometimes, damn it. They be falling in. They be falling in. Uh-oh. And I knew he was coming. I knew he was coming. Look. Cuz over here.
Hi, Vine. Welcome.
What's up, brother? What's up? Oh, she made a comment. Looking at the comments, we do
Okay.
therapy. It is the most productive thing we have ever did.
Yes. I believe in therapy. I absolutely do.
I wanted to so of course this is the expert, y'all. She's the professional, right? So I'm not this is not my expertise, but I just wanted to give my thought process into because I think it's just critical to think of it in another area, right? And so financially, right? So the reason I have the question of is like, does making more money than your mate or being the breadwinner, does that mean it's mandatory that your mate has to be submissive to you? And it's a great question, right? Because when you look at, and I'm just gonna show you a graph, so I don't want to be too deep in the details, but so just take a look at this, right? So when you look at breadwinners and you look at uh over the time, like well, this 2017, the census, well, I think it's every five to 10 years. I think it's every 5 years. But anyway, I got this. So this is straight data. These are straight facts. So the title is Black Unmarried Mothers Are More Likely Than Any Other Racial or Ethnic Group to Be Breadwinners. Black unmarried mothers, right? And so these are women who are not married, right? But they can have be boyfriend and girlfriend, right? And if you look, 17.2% of Black married mothers are the breadwinners. So that means 82%, more 80, 81, 82%, if you do the math correctly, 82.8 for those who want to be technical, right? The married Black man is the breadwinner, right? So in those cases, he's the breadwinner. So the reason I asked the question is because if you base it on how much wages you bring, income or wages that you're bringing in, that's where some of that mindset has come from. But this is based in 2017, so this is some recent data, right? But then on the converse side, if you look, 51% of unmarried Black women are, they're out the breadwinners, which means 49% of unmarried Black men are not the breadwinners. So that means and this is statistically, so it's not for everybody, but if you're in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, it's usually kind of half and half. But, based on situations, let's say if you do make more money than the other, if you do make more money than your mate, right? It makes sense for your wife not to work because you're making 3, 6, 7 figures. You like, this just makes sense. You stay home and take care of the kid, right? So that makes sense, right? So in that case, it absolutely makes sense. But when you tie that into today, it's amazing to me because when you look at some of the things that occurs today with the mentality of that, right? Because again, if 82% of the men who are married are the breadwinners, that means 17, are the women, right? So that means women are more likely to be at home. But when I think about that, I also think about TV, right? So those are the facts. But when you look at TV, it's a different type of spin. Because if you look through the timeline and see, this is what I wanted to talk about here. So in the 70s, we had the Jeffersons, right? Black man, this is one of my favorite shows of all time. Black man owned his own business, living in the sky, high rise in the sky on the east side. He's doing his thing, right? Couldn't tell him nothing, right? He's the breadwinner, right? So, and this goes back to being submissive, right? He made all this money, right? Weezy stayed at home, right? He was submissive to a certain degree to her, even though he was the breadwinner. And obviously she was submissive to him, pampering him and everything, right? So, and just think about the visual here. So I'm gonna go down a quick timeline. So this is the 70s. Black man doing his thing, wife staying at home, making sandwiches, food, making lunches and stuff. Take care of the household, take care of the kids, right? Because Lionel was at home, make sure you're doing the homework. So her job was equally as difficult, but just differently, right? Go ahead. I know you want to chime in. Go ahead.
Didn't she have a maid?
Yes, she did have a maid. Yes. So I mean, but still, some people.
I'm not taking away her being a stay-at-home. I'm just saying that she, in addition, she also had a maid.
Yes. So she had assistants, right? So think about that. So that's in the 70s. This is when TV first started, right? For a lot of blacks on TV, the images and stuff. But then when we get to the 80s, right? And this was one of my top 5 shows of all time, The Cosby Show, right? And so if you think about the images here, and we're gonna get to the comments in a minute, but I just want to make this quick timeline point. Look at thinking about the images here, right? Now he was a doctor, she was a lawyer. They equally, she could probably make more money than him, or you could argue he made more money than her. You wouldn't have known, right? You knew for a fact he loved his wife. And he would do certain things for her. He would kick the kids out. He built her, then he built her a room or something so she can get away and do her like an office in the house, later in the later seasons, of the show. And so he would bring in cooks to cook for her, and she would do things for him, so they were equally submissive to each other. That's the image that TV was showing, right? So just think about that. That's the 80s. Right. And so think about where the monetary value was at. So the first in the 70s with George, he was making all the money. But now we have in the 80s, we have black man, black woman on kind of equal footing for the most part. Right. So when we go to the 90s, right, let's go to the 90s real quick. And everybody's favorite show, Martin, right? Martin was a DJ. So Martin wasn't making a lot of money. Gina was in corporate America, right? Even though it's a comedy show, a sitcom, right? But she was still submissive to him, even though she made more money than him, right? What was the episode where they couldn't take more money out the account because they were trying to budget and all that, so they were working together for certain things, right? So that you still had that submissiveness being displayed on TV with black families, even though a girlfriend and boyfriend. But going back to the data, unmarried black women made more money than unmarried black men, right? So this is, in this case, it aligns up. But then when you look at some of the other shows, and I have it on the screen, Rock was a sanitation worker. Eleanor was a nurse. So you could probably assume that, and I think she left her job. He was kind of transitioning as the breadwinner. They were still submissive to one another, right? And so you see some of those images with them. They working with one another. She didn't humiliate him because he was a sanitation worker, right? Even though they probably had money problems and all that was displayed. But again, you just saw them being submissive to one another. And then, another one of my favorite shows was Family Matters. Same thing here. Carl was a police officer. I think Harry, she did have a job, but you could assume they were, middle income family. So they wasn't living like the Cosby Show, but they still was equally submissive to one another, right? She loved him, he loved her. They were compromised on things, right? Keeping peace in the home, stuff like that, right? So it aligns with the definition of being submissive. But then when we roll around to the 90s, right? And this is 90s, but then mid to late 90s, and you had this show come about. I love Living Single, but these were women, they were showing black women living single, right? And so one of the characters on the show was Overton, he was I think he was like some type of handyman or something like that. And they were showing black women being more empowered, being I would say entrepreneur, just being more independent, right? You saw them in the independent light and taking ownership. And see, it was two guys on the show, so you see they're kind of dismissing black men. Not saying black women are dismissing black men. This is what the TV is showing you. You're showing strong black women, but you're not showing the men in the same light. So obviously you're going to encompass some of that superiority, and you're not going to be as submissive, right? So then and this is the last one, my last example, when you see Girlfriends, right? And this was in the early 2000s, right? And so this was kind of fitting because this is what Living Single kind of evolved into, right? And so these were women, now I never watched the show, but I've heard what the show was kind of about, and it was kind of Living Single on steroids. They were doing whatever they wanted. They're accentuating their body and living in their sexualities and stuff like that, which is cool. But if you notice in all the cases, the black man was the head, and as you see, he started getting lower and lower and lower and lower, so now he's not even existing anymore. And so my point in showing this is making like TV definitely has a part in some people's views in being submissive, right? Because when they see it on TV, it kind of manifests themselves in their life, right? And so reality TV. So go ahead.
Let me just jump in and say that. Remember when we talk about TV, TV is called programming for a reason, right? Because it's programming you to think a certain way. And so that's why they typically call it programming. And then people do look at TV, and there are obviously subliminal messaging in that. But I do want to thank you for explaining that. You did a really good job on that. And we have a lot of comments.
Yes.
Let's just welcome KJ and Crystal in. They are now here with us. And let's answer Toria's question. Toria said that did you jump down off of it? Show back down, please. All right. Being a breadwinner does not mean your spouse will submit. You're absolutely right. It depends on who the person is and what type of qualities that they have. And oftentimes some women make more money than men, but just because you make more money than your mate does not mean that they're going to submit. But again, like we said earlier, it should be a mutual decision. If you're good at something, then they should stand back and let you lead. And if they're good at something, then you should stand back and let them lead. It should never be a time where someone is always trying to overpower you. That is an unhealthy relationship.
And I'm going to start that. So good job, Tori. I love that comment.
Okay. And so we have Ariana. Ariana says submissiveness goes both ways. You're correct. He can be the breadwinner. However, respect goes both ways for us. What I lack and he's good at, and vice versa. Money does not make you the boss of nothing. And you know what, Ariana, I just want to start that as well, because oftentimes when people make more money, or male or female, because it's on both ends, they oftentimes treat their mate differently because they feel that there is some superiority there, and it's absolutely not. Just because you make more money does not mean that you're better than another person, because we all bring qualities into a relationship.
And I would like to also add too, what's interesting, especially with like a lot of us know that, but I know everybody has Facebook, right? And they have their accounts, right? And I know y'all seen a lot of these videos, with these prank videos, where these dudes driving these Lamborghinis and they're trying to.
They're called the gold digger videos. Yes. And I don't like those videos.
But it's amazing to me, because to keep catching the same type of female in those interactions, right? It tells me, for one, I believe, I'm assuming they never had a real relationship with their parents or their mother and father, because if you're valuing, like if someone tried, I'm pretty sure with if somebody approached you and you're like, you have a boyfriend, they like, you like, yeah, right. And then you like, have a good day. You're not going to turn around and be like, oh my God, he's walking into a G-Wagon. You're like, hey, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't mean to say that. Like, I'm just like, wow, like that's amazing to me. But for a lot of people though, that is true for a lot of people, but it's absolutely false. You like, if you make a lot of money, that does not mean you're the boss of anything. It means you make a lot of money. That's it. That's all it means, right? That's all it means. So
and that's a part of knowing your worth, right?
Yes.
Knowing your worth and knowing what you bring to the relationship. I think a lot of times people struggle with knowing their values, struggle with their morals, and knowing their worth in a relationship, because oftentimes people can make you feel like you are not doing enough. But those are people who are, again, manipulative, and they want you to submit, but they're actually super controlling, and that's not a part of a healthy relationship. So
it is not. And I'd like to give a shout out, obviously, KJ. We are here. They was in the house last night. I see them over there chilling. We're going to get to that later, but we know you're here, brother. We appreciate you being here.
Good
seeing you last night. Look at Ariane. What episode of Martin were you watching? All of them. She was submissive. Like, she worked with Martin. She didn't have to work with Martin. Like, she working with Martin a little bit. You know what I'm saying? He putting her off, blasting her business on the radio and all that. He was doing a whole lot of crazy stuff. So she worked with Martin. She was very compromised with that brother. She was never said she was never more submissive. I'm just saying she was submissive in dealing with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it was 50-50, because she used to rag on him too a lot of times. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to ever say she was more submissive than him. But I just used it for an example. Johnny, you are spot on, bro. Appreciate it. Yeah, because I just try to use a visual that makes sense in the timeline so people understand where I'm coming from. I think it's just from TV. I think a lot of that comes from TV. Obviously, it comes from, like you said, cultural norms and being around environments and all that stuff. But also, I think it comes from TV too, because a lot of people, they honestly reality TV. That's what it makes a reality for a lot of people. They think that's real. It's not real. It's scripted. So yes, a lot of people think that.
I have a quick thing to add, but I want to go to KJ. KJ, you said it depends on leadership. Can you
Yes,
elaborate for us real quick on that, please?
and you can show leadership in different ways. You can show leadership like just being a teammate. Like I think some of the best, like people love the Bulls and Michael Jordan, right? And they always talk about his leadership, which I'm like, that's my guy. Michael Jordan is my guy. You know that, like that's my guy, right? But I think Scottie Pippen showed different types of leadership too because he's just a great teammate. And I think that's you can show like at home. You can like picking behind the mate or the kids and helping them out and all that. I think that you're absolutely right. It depends on leadership.
Okay, so I'm gonna ruffle some feathers real quick, and this is probably not so much as the ladies, but I'm gonna ruffle the feathers for the guys. So you said that you believe that living single and also girlfriends kind of like depicted what it looks like to empower women to be empowered and to have to live a single life and be comfortable in their own sexuality. And that is a part of programming, right? We know a lot of these TVs are written and produced by people of different cultures, and when Black women are just playing the part. So what about when we keep hearing our brothers, they always say, well, you know what? For every 10 women, there's one guy. So it's easy for us to have multiple women. And I think that's being sold a lot too. And so that you have to look at that as we continue to grow as a society, and why a lot of women are single, because it is hard for men to commit when they are being force fed that they can have multiple women.
But you know my saying is who the fool who keeps saying that, then why y'all keep if it's 10 women to ever do, why y'all keep messing with the same woman? Hello, I'm just saying. Like I'm just because I'll be shocked, like, really? Like, bro, okay. Like, but I'm just saying. So whenever I hear that, I'm like, but y'all knuckleheads keep man. Like, look at the I'm not shaming nobody. I'm just saying, look at some of these and I use them because I don't want to be using people that I know, but I'm just saying, like Nicole Murphy and and I'm just like, y'all can meet anybody in the world, but y'all dealing in the same circle with the same type of women. You know what I'm saying? So y'all keep messing with the same, but so it is true. I believe there's more women on the earth than men, and that may be the case as far as the ratio. But if that's the case, why do y'all keep messing with the same chick? That's my thing. That I've always thought that. So
when I would say, just for me, it burns my ears when I hear that. And I know there may be some statistical evidence and it may be true, but I'm like, a real man doesn't need 10 or 20 women to fill him up. If you're looking for 10 and 20 women, that means that there's a void inside of you. There's a character defect inside of you. So again, just as the women living single or girlfriends, that is part of programming. And I think when that is being forced down Black men's throat, they begin to believe that planting that seed, it has a lot to do with why the Black family is so dysfunctional. And so we just have to be mindful of that. Who is putting those messages out there, and being careful what we're listening to and what we see, because we know the eyes and the ears are the windows to the soul.
We have a question. Yeah, does empowering women have to mean disempowering men? Absolutely not.
No.
I'll let you take this, but yeah, absolutely not.
Okay, so empowering women, no, it does not have to mean disempowering men. For a woman to be empowered, it just basically means that she's bossing up, right? She know who she is. She's comfortable in her own skin. She is living, her dream, and doing all the things that she wants to do and accomplish. But no, you don't have to disempower a man to be who you are, to be comfortable in your skin. And actually, when we are in a relationship, and not just in an intimate relationship, but a relationship with you might have a male best friend, or your cousin, or your dad, or your nieces and your nephews, or your brother. We want to make sure that when someone is doing something good, that we are always in support of them, and we're giving them that pat on the shoulder, or that pat on the back, and encouraging them to continue and to push forward, to be supportive. Oftentimes people struggle with that because that's the part of being a self-centered and narcissism, when you can't congratulate someone else during their moment.
And I will give you a pertinent example of empowering a woman, but that's not meaning disempowering men. Our show, you're being empowered. Does that disempower me? Heck no. What do they know? No. So great question. our one YouTube subscriber, lady.
You are funny. Okay, here we go. Men are not raised to be husbands, but women are raised to be wives.
Now that is very
Oh.
powerful. And so let's talk about this real quick. I love that. I love that. I'm speaking for men, and I think I when I who was I just talking to about this? Oh, it was Mickey. We was talking last night when we left the comedy show when we was whatever. But anyway, we were sitting in the car and I was like, we were talking about marriage, like, and it's not taboo. Two black men can talk about being married, right? And he was talking about he, wants to be married. He's approaching 50. He like, bro, I need to, find something, So anyway, we asked, because I asked him, I said, now, we've been from, and I said, who all was married around us that we could have used as an example to, as a a married couple to be married as men, like, and to have married men behavior. We named 5 people, five married couples in that whole little area at Etna, and that's absolutely true. We were not raised to be husbands. However, that is not an excuse not to try to at least to be a husband. You understand what I'm saying? So you can't, like, a lot of us wasn't raised to go to college, but a lot of us went to college, right? And graduated. Versus some people who were raised to go to college didn't go, right? And didn't succeed. So we can't use that, but that's very good point. But I'll pivot and let you go ahead.
Oh, okay. So, what I think about that, everything can be a learning curve. Even though you felt like you wasn't raised to be a husband, it's just a learning curve. And in your case, Vaughn, you have found your wife. And at this point, you're going to be a husband. And so if you feel like you don't have those qualities yet, it's okay to, like you guys are going to therapy right now and you're seeking out counsel. And I think that's really good. It's never too late to start to shift the way that you handle things inside of a relationship. And so again, it's just a learning curve. And when we really love someone, that's a part of submitting, right? Mm-hmm. Submitting to her will, like, I wasn't raised to be a husband, but I know that I am marrying you and I want this to work. So whatever it is that I need to do to make sure that our union works, that I'm willing to do that. And so last podcast, we talked about those one-way streets, those two-way streets, 4 ways, and then Eugene brought up the highway. And so that's the thing that we have to remember, that it's not one-sided, but there's different layers to it. And so if you're making that decision to get married, I do know that eventually you will fall in line and you'll be a great husband. So I just want to follow up with KJ's comment. KJ, because I asked him to elaborate for me. He said, it is okay to let your partner lead if the leadership lines up with the word. I do believe that our parents, taught us growing up that be in the world but not of the world. And so if you follow scripture and different things like that, I know some of us may have different religions, but if you follow scripture says that follow your mate, right? And it says that, but it is according to how the person is lead. And I'll tell you, for me, I'm not going to follow any man that does not know how to properly lead. And not saying that I can't be submissive, because I can. I really, truly can. I've seen my mother do it a million times. But when I tell you, my father is like our own little superhero. He has showed us what it means to be a great husband, a great father, a great grandfather, and now he's a great grandfather. And so it's easy to follow someone when they properly know how to lead. And I will agree with that, yes, when it lines up with the word.
Mr. Wilson over there, Black Jesus. I ain't even playing with him. I ain't mad at him. Right on. Happy birthday too, brother. Happy birthday.
And what I will say, that whole thing of family that prays together, stays together. I'm really big on that. I was joking. I love my nephews. I really truly do. It's the twins. I absolutely love them. And my mom got on one of them today and said, "Hey, you promised me that you were going to go to church with us." And he's like, "Oh, I'm so exhausted." And so I was messing with him. My sister was messing with him, but he got up and came. And so when I tell you, it was so many of us at church today as a family unit I believe in that. My mother and my father believe that. And I know sometimes people say, well, you don't have to go to church to be in the presence of the Lord. And that is also true, but make sure that we are feeding our spirit like we're feeding our body for nourishment. If you can go out there and go hang in the club and go partying and shake it down with your friends, you know what I'm saying? Go and give somebody some of your time. Okay. Feed your spirit and feed your soul just as you feed your body for nourishment.
Oh, we got more comments. Hold on. I am aware of what's been done. Oh, she's talking about the media and portraying, working on the women versus, the men having more women. So yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got another YouTube subscriber. Oh, I just seen it on the top of the screen. Look.
Okay, what we got?
Hold on. So let's see. Ariana says he didn't say he doesn't. Oh no, we know that. No, I know what he said. I know exactly.
Oh no, we get what he was saying. We got it.
He was saying in general the things lacking in black. Absolutely. I agree with that.
Okay, check out Johnny. Johnny says, but I believe that that's been happening a long time. And so is he, Johnny, are you referring to the relationship between men and women or having multiple women? Hi, Lisa.
Oh, that's our second YouTube. Yeah. That's word trooper. I know. I don't like that Green Bay Packers stuff though. You gotta take that stuff out.
What you want her to put on the coats?
Yeah, nah. Hey, no, I almost cussed on Resurrection Sunday. Like, what you talking about, coach? You talking about the pony? No, you crazy.
Oh, okay. Johnny said disempowerment. Okay. Johnny, yeah, I think disempowerment, that was a move. I think this is just my opinion. I think the disempowerment of Black men was kind of put in place for a specific reason. They basically wanted the Black men out of the household. And that was really to destroy the Black family. This is just my opinion, because if you don't have the head of the house in the home to raise those boys or to raise the girls, and then it's just basically the blind leading the blind. But when you know what's the saying, when you know better, do better. We all know better now. And so the thing is, just like Eugene posted on Facebook a couple of days ago, protect the union, protect your union, right? Because when you begin to have children, you're supposed to make sure that you are taking good care of your children. And that actually kind of segues in a little bit. We'll talk about what co-parenting looks like.
That's in the comments. Lisa, here we go. You know I'm joking, but you know I love you. I mess with her all the time about them Packers. I hate them. Oh, that's our rival. How does a man know he's a good leader? That's a good question.
Now you're a man. I'm gonna let you answer that.
I mean, it's like this. Like, I can only speak from personal experience, and I obviously I've been a man all my life. I know men who are great leaders. I think you a good leader is when you are inspiring. Like, okay, let's say if it's your spouse, your kids, family members, you are inspiring them to be a better version of themselves, and they're inspired by your the example you're setting, right? And so, like, I'll just use a vague example. Like, let's say, it was a guy in the hood. I forget his name. He used to always pick up the litter in the hood, right, all the time, right? As kids, we seen that, right? And so, obviously, as I got older, I did the same thing. But as a kid, I saw that. I'm just like, wow, that's pretty cool. Even though it's all run down and all this looking real bad, but he is taking time out his day to pick up litter. And he wasn't even a homeowner; he was renting, right? Usually, you see that with homeowners. So when I saw that, I'm just like, wow. So it inspired me to kind of do the same thing around my house, even though I was 15 years old. You know what I'm saying? So I think when you inspire young, I don't even think it could be, like I said, it could be your spouse, your kids, students, like KJ, for instance, he's teaching, right? So I'm pretty sure that's the case with him, your co-workers. And it's kind of sad because when you are I would say a good leader, just a leader, period, and a Black man, other cultures will point that out. And so they'll say, are you a good, you're a good guy. I take good things from you. And it's like, well, is your interpretation that all Black men aren't good? You understand what I'm saying? And so that's what I'm saying. It's a lot of good men, good leaders, some in church, some in business. They're splattered. You just got to, you know when you come in contact with them. But I think he would know by the way people react to him and how he inspires others around him. So That's my 2 cents. And absolutely, as we said right here, this comment here, when you inspire others, the best leaders I know have spirituals, have servant spirits. Yep. Um. Yep. They killed the black family. Absolutely. That's how you kill the destruction of our culture. Is through the black family. That, and to me, that's the most powerful thing on the earth is the black family, because it defines roles. It defines how you're supposed to treat a woman, how you're supposed to treat a man, how a father's supposed to treat his kids. It's just a trickle down effect. And so I think that is the nuclear foundation to our culture. It's the black family. Because when you don't have that foundation, everything is running them up. People confused, they don't know who they are. You got all type, and it leads to other stuff. When you know who you are, you see, like for instance, because I'm pretty sure with yourself, you seen how your mother treated your father. So you already have in your mind, this is how a man's supposed to treat a woman. So I'm not going to go for anything else, and vice versa, right? You wouldn't allow your sister, right, to be treated a type of way, even though she's married like that, because y'all have that mindset. Y'all saw how your father treated your mother, you saw how your mother treated your father, right? And so absolutely, yes. And you two killed that, you have to kill the destruction of that foundation. And so I definitely agree with that.
Okay. Good.
So I think this is a good conversation, but we want to be a little light. And so, but before we go, I like to reemphasize this too. So submissive, and just reemphasize what they were speaking about earlier. Being submissive does not mean I have to submit to you because you make more money than me. It does not mean you get to treat me any other way because you make more money than me. It does not mean you get to say whatever you want, do whatever you want, even though we are in a relationship, because you make more money than me. So I think a lot of people have a twisted view of that. It does mean, however, to compromise, to help, to be a teammate, to love one another, like to be peaceful, to not, be unwavering, not to interrupt one another, to just be somewhat of a supportive figure to that person. That was my last comments on it. Anything you'd like to add, Candace?
Just real quick, we talked about the black family. So I just really want to add that co-parenting is like super important, because kids are often learning from their parents. So kids don't do as you say, they absolutely do as you do. So making sure when you're co-parenting, if you guys are still in a relationship or you're still married, even if you're not married, making sure that you're on the same page, and so the kids can see that it's a healthy space. You guys are talking about their religion, helping them with their homework, what it looks like for doctor's appointments, what kind of nutrition that you're feeding them. Just making sure that you have a healthy relationship and your co-parenting really good. Someone said that's that's 100 on that. All right, and then real quickly, this is I'm going to give you two things that we should always have in life, and one is gratitude. Okay, and gratitude just means being thankful. Being thankful, and then humility. We always need to be humble. Those are the two things that I think we definitely need in life. And you have our word of the day.
Yes. Word of the day. It is faith. Obviously it's Resurrection Sunday, so it kind of coincides with that. But in Swahili, obviously, it's Imani, which is one of the 7 days of Kwanzaa, right? And so the definition of faith is complete trust or confidence in someone or something. So I know y'all's in church with y'all Easter suits on, lime green, praising the Lord, right? So it's all good. But you trust in Him, and absolutely, when you have faith in your partner, your spouse, family members, you have complete confidence and trust in them. So it's always good to have faith. So absolutely. We have to pivot over to Candy's shoe game.
Yay! The shoe game.
This week we have some more sneakers. And can you elaborate on who's the designer of these?
Yeah, so these are sneakers designed by my sister, Crystal Wilson. They're actually Chuck Taylor's, and she designed them. So if you guys are interested, again, send us a DM, give me a call, inbox us, and I will give you her Instagram information. So she designed shoes, and I think they're nice. Again, guys, I I wear tennis shoes, I wear wedges, I wear heels. Anything that is pretty and girly, I'll definitely put them on. So again, thanks, sister, for the design.
And do she make shoes for dudes? Because I'm like, I'm kind of whack over here. I'm like, dang, you ain't cool. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
she'll make them. You just have to let her know what it is that you want, and she
I
can
don't
do
want no
it.
rhinestones, no glitter, nothing like that on there. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, can we get some black, red, and green colors on there or something? I'm just saying, shout out Christy. But no, and also we would like to uh give someone his flowers. And the Black Entrepreneur of the Day, Mr. Antoine Clayton. We were last night at his comedy event, which was spectacular. A little packed in there now. We're a little sardined in there a little bit, you know, but it was all good. It was a great comedy show. You had, you know, the comics were great. The atmosphere was fine. Me and Candace were there along with her sister, her husband. Some of the, you know, old work heads that we know, classmates that was in there. It was a really good time. I laughed my eyes out. It was, man, it was hilarious. So and he's a good brother. He's, you know, this, I think it's the sixth year doing it. Right there on Lake Street in the was it a comedy? Is it a
Comedy club.
Black owned, y'all. Right?
Black.
It's in Gary, you know. And people, go ahead, because this is your first time going.
It
So go
was,
ahead.
guys. I was just saying, thank everybody tonight for joining the podcast. But I am so grateful that Amaru and Antoine invited us to the comedy show. And like Amaru said, KJ came and Crystal, my sister and her husband came. And I will tell you that I laughed all night. All the comedians were absolutely funny. And we have our own comedy club in Gary, Indiana, wouldn't you know it? And one of our classmates promoted it. He did a really good job with bringing people out, and it was packed in there. So when he gives the next comedy show, just make sure that you guys go out and support. It's absolutely critical that we begin to support our own. I do think they say you're the financial person, so I'm going to say this, and you correct me if I'm wrong. In order for our communities to do well, we need to spend a dollar in our community and let that dollar bounce 7 times in the community before it goes out to someone else's community. And so just as we talk about fashion and I like different things, I also shop a lot with my own people, whether that is my hairstylist, my designers, different clothes that I wear. Make sure that you are supporting people in your community and in your circle. So I would just say that. Oh, and also,
yes, so it speaks to that. So this is what one of the things that I loved African American College Alliance. And so Mark used to wear this on the show. So it speaks to spending money in your community, but also we have our own stuff too, right?
Yeah, let me stand up so you guys can see it. This is our logo. We have them done, and actually a vendor did this, and I'll shout her out in our next session. So if you guys are wanting to buy merch from us for the podcast, let us know, and we can get you some merch so that you can wear it at school, at work, in the community, on vacation. Let us know.
Any shout outs you want to give out before we give closing remarks?
I'm just shout out everybody again. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I think it's just so important that we begin to love on each other. We don't know what tomorrow looks like. The Bible says that we don't know the time or the hour. Our healthiest day could be our sickest day. So make sure that you guys are loving on one another. And just like Maru said, giving people their flowers while they're here. So I love all of you guys. I hope you enjoyed all of your Resurrection Sunday dinner. And until next time,
before we go, our next podcast is Sunday, May 1st. And the topic is, which is controversial in itself, forgiveness. So we noticed there was a lot of comments around this the last show. And so we're going to try to talk and unpack that for you. But I think we did a good job here. Like she said, we appreciate you guys tuning in and supporting us. We're going to be big and better, obviously, going forward. Anything you'd like to add, Candace?
That's all. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys soon.
Peace.
Peace out.